I have so much to read. Greetings, my name is Nina, welcome back to the Metal Book Tower. It has been a while since I made a full video. I have been releasing shorts that are actually videos from TikTok. And now it's time for a full-time video. So I have a tradition on this channel. It started even back when my another channel, the Russian channel Another Reader, was still the English channel. Each March, I make a video where I go through books that I haven't read. And now it's March 2024. It's the 3rd of March as I'm filming this, and now it's time for the 2024 edition of my unread books. Well, I make these videos because the list changes every year. I'm not going to go through the plot of the novel or something. I'm going to talk just a little about each book because there's so much to show. I'm simply going to point out when I bought this book and whether I'm going to read this book very soon or someday. Anyway, let's do this. So the very first book that I got on my hands is Areopagitica and Other Writings by John Milton. I do feel a little bit ashamed about this one because I asked my friends to get this to me from the UK. Yes, this is a gift from the UK. I didn't find it here in Georgia and I still haven't read it. Well, there are multiple reasons for this, because I'm either not in the mood for this, or there's something else to read, or it's too hard. I kept saying that after J.R.R. Tolkien I can read anything in English, but then I encountered John Milton and very big books in English where there are too much pages, and I have overestimated my strength, I guess. I have mentioned many times that I got this book because of the 10-Year Kings and the Magistrates. It isn't very big, but there are also some very interesting essays here, and I'm going to read them eventually. I have had this book since December 2022, and this book is actually signed in Georgian from France. I don't know when I'm going to go through this, but I will, definitely. Oh, this book has been on my shelf since 2020. I remember buying this in June. This is the Iliad by Homer. I remember I started reading a few pages back in 2020 when I bought this book, and then I decided that I was not mature enough for this. And every time I look at this book, I think, not today, Homer, not today. Your time will come. Yeah, I definitely feel that I'm not mature enough for this book. Or maybe because at the time when I started reading, I wasn't used to epic poems. Well, other than Faust. That's the only epic poem I read at the time. Can you imagine? I went through Paradise Lost by John Milton and not this book. Yeah, I need to go through this. I don't know when I will do that. This is going to be unread for a long time, I think. But I'm still glad I have this on my shelves. When I say that I have had this book for a long time, I mean for more than a year. Next book that I've had more than a year is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I definitely do not know when I'm going to go through this. I've had this book since autumn 2022. But I went through the first page and it was quite an easy read, surprisingly. Stephen King's prose isn't that easy to read in English, actually. I was surprised when I started reading Different Seasons. That's the first book I read in English by Stephen King, and it was quite complex. No, not necessarily super hard like Tolkien or Milton, but still it's quite twisting. Okay, I know that I'm not supposed to compare Stephen King to J.R.R. Tolkien and John Milton and other writers who used Old English, but in my defense, English is not my native language, therefore I'm allowed to do so. I don't know when I'm going to pick this one up. Maybe when I'm in the right mood. Another book that has been on my shelves for a long time, The Witcher, The Tower of the Swallow by Andrzej Sapkowski, the 6th book in the Witcher series. I'm not in the mood for The Witcher, to be honest. My interest in this series has tanked. at least for now. Now, of course, I'm definitely keeping these books. I'm not giving them away. And there's a chance that one day I'm going to buy the last one, The Lady of the Lake. I want to confess, I bought the Witcher series mostly because they were overhyped and I was curious. Experience taught me not to follow the hype blindly. Now, don't get me wrong, I've heard of The Witcher enough and I thought the series was interesting. There are only two book series that I bought because of the hype. The Witcher and The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The Dark Tower on my shelves didn't last. I wasn't very much invested into the series. And I gave away the books, well, mostly because I didn't like the editions. However, I am willing to give The Dark Tower a second chance one day if I encounter proper editions of the books. And definitely I'm going to listen to Seize the Day by Demons and Wizards because that's the song I listened to when I was reading The Dark Tower. And to this day, when I hear that song, I remember the Dark Tower books. But The Witcher, on the other hand, I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to continue. Not in the mood for this. Maybe I should reread the first two books. I don't know. Not in the mood for this. This has been on my shelf since autumn 2022. I was wrong. It wasn't since 2022. It was since autumn 2021. 2021, I'm sorry. I picked this book up and then I remembered that I bought them the same year. This is Dune by Frank Herbert. This volume contains the books 4, 5, and 6. In fairness though, I read one Dune book per year. In 2021, I read the first one, in 2022, second one, in 2023, the third one, and I'm definitely going to read the fourth one this year. Maybe I'm going to continue reading the Dune series this year, I don't know, but definitely reading the first one this year, and this one even has a bookmark over here. I used this bookmark when I was reading the first volume. Yeah, gonna go through this book this year. More Stephen King in this video, and next is Dreamcatcher. I bought this book in summer 2023. It's quite fresh. I've had this book for less than a year and I don't know when I'm going to pick this up. I genuinely hope that I'm holding my new favorite book. I simply loved The Talisman when I read it back in summer 2023 and I knew I wanted the Dreamcatcher next, and here I have it. I don't know when I'm going to read this. Next one is Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow by Yuval Noah Harari. Gonna confess, I do find the Harari books a little bit depressing. His writing is very interesting, but still a little bit depressing for me. I read Sapiens last year and bought this book sometime later. I don't know when I'm going to read this. I'm not ready for non-fiction at the moment. In 2024, I decided to read a little bit less non-fiction, but who knows, maybe I'm going to be in the mood for this. Next one is No Logo by Naomi Klein. I got this book via Book Crossing and I did not expect to get this. I was going to get This Changes Everything, and to be honest, I don't find that book too interesting. However, No Logo seems to be quite interesting. Maybe I should pick this up soon, even though I want less non-fiction. I've had this book since autumn 2023. This book is quite old. The pages are yellow. I hope you can see this. When was this book, this current edition, published? This edition was published in 2010. So there are cracks on the spine, multiple of them, and I guess they were opened like this. Maybe I will pick this up soon. I don't know. Next one is Grimm's Fairy Tales in this wonderful Macmillan's Library edition. Macmillan's Collector's Library. I keep forgetting that. Another book that I have in this edition is The Best Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen, and I read some of the tales, but not all of them. This one, on the other hand, I still haven't read. I don't know when I'm going to pick this up. But I do want to point out that fairy tales are great to read when you want to read something, but you aren't in the mood for reading. I don't know when I'm going to open this. And also fact, this book seems very big, however, it has less pages than Best Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen. Now some vintage classics library or something, or whatever it's going. Yes, Vintage Classics Library, The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. This is a recent purchase. I bought it back in January. I like that this book has quite a big font. I don't know when I'm going to read this, to be honest. And next is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I got this book in September 2023 by Book Crossing. I also have another book in this edition, Vintage Classics Library. It's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, but it's not in the video because I'm in the process of reading that book. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of these editions, and the Alice in Wonderland edition I hope I will replace. Another book that has been on my shelves for quite a long time, Fear and Trembling by Soren Kierkegaard. I got it in autumn 2022 at a book fair. There were discounts and I got myself this one. See this part? This is introduction. Yeah, this is what happens when you read a Penguin Classics book. I'm not really ready for philosophy. Like I said, I want a little bit less nonfiction. I do want to get through this book. Maybe I'm going to pick this up this year. Now here comes my fresh finds, my first ever, how this is called, Penguin Little Black Classics. So this is Aphorisms of Love and Hate by Friedrich Nietzsche. Fact about this book, this is simply an extempt from his book Human, All Too Human. When I look at this book, I like to say that I bought a single instead of buying a full album. Yeah, the associations with music are quite strong. On the other hand, I do like the fact that some parts of Nietzsche's books are printed like this. Reading full books, especially in English, would be too confusing. Not too bad. So update. I filmed this video on March 3rd and now I'm editing this video on March 7th. I read Aphorisms on Love and Hate in 2 days. Another Penguin Little Black Classics is The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. The Yellow Wallpaper isn't the only story in here. This one also contains The Rocking Chair and Old Water. I wanna read this book this year. This was one of the Book Leo's recommendations. Not only a classic recommendation, but also one of your favorite books. My edition is different than hers. I'm definitely going to see what this is all about. Now comes the book that is planned for 2024. It's Foundation by Isaac Asimov. I've had this book since September 2023. Got this book from Book Crossing, and I absolutely love the fact that it looks so very, very new, as if it hasn't been read. Definitely planned for this year. By the way, I planned 10 books for 2024 and I have already read 4 and I'm reading 2 at the moment. I like that the chapters are very short here. My recent find is Masquerade by Terry Pratchett. After I read The Amazing Morris and His Educated Rodents last spring, I did not consider buying more Terry Pratchett, but then I entered the bookstore, saw this book a few weeks ago and I was like, I need this. You know why? This is a comedic parody retelling of The Phantom of the Opera. And I was like, music themes. It's a sort of a parody of The Phantom of the Opera, and it's a part of the Witches series. I do like The Witches. Equal Rights, after all, is one of my favorite books, and I was like, yes, I need it. In case you were wondering, you can read the Terry Pratchett books separately. More books. Okay, technically I read the first 90 pages of this book, however I decided to start over because it wasn't the right time to read this book, and I'm going to pick this up sooner or later. This is A Fire Upon the Deep by Werner Vinge. I'm not ready to read sci-fi right now, well, at least not this book. I said like I'm not ready for sci-fi, yet I have got Emperor of Dune and the Foundation planned for this year. Yeah, I know how ironic this sounds. Anyway, I'm not ready for this one yet, and I decided to cancel reading this book. I didn't read that much. I've had this since autumn 2023. Oh, next book, to be honest, I got because there were huge discounts and I was like, I need to get this while there are discounts, otherwise it was way too expensive, and this is Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I don't know when I'm going to pick this up. I've had this book since summer 2022. Fun fact about this edition, this one also contains the prologue of the Stormlight Archive, the first book. The Way of Kings, the chapter To Kill. I remember I read the first 3 chapters and then I was like, no, I'm not ready for this, and then I stopped reading this. To be honest, this isn't the Brandon Sanderson book I want to read right now. I would luckily put this aside in favor of Tress of the Emerald Sea and The Arithmetist, especially The Arithmetist. Okay, this book is planned this year. This is Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. This edition contains the first 4 Earthsea books. Definitely I'm reading this book this year. I got it in December 2023. The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle showed me that I am in for classic fantasy, and this book, Earthsea, is classic fantasy, so yeah, definitely something for me. The next 3 books I'm going to show you together because these are the 5th, 6th and 7th book of the Harry Potter series. Here they are. So I'm currently in the process of reading Goblet of Fire, the 1st one. It's planned for this year. Maybe I'm going to pick Order of the Phoenix this year. I don't know. Goblet of Fire I'm reading right now and it's brilliant. Next book I wanted to get for quite a long time and finally I got it. It's Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Once I've read the annotation, I was like, yes, I need this. Finally, I got this and I'm definitely going to read this soon. And finally, some exclusive classics. So The Last Summer of Klingzor by Hermann Hesse. I've had this book since May 2022. I think I'm going to pick this up this year. There are 3 short stories in here. The next one is A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. I got this year. I think it was January or February, I don't remember. I don't know when I'm going to read this. Next one is Will to Power by Friedrich Nietzsche. Yes, I said that I'm going to put aside non-fiction this year. I reduced the amount, but I do want to read Will of Power. Just like I want to read this one, Aphorisms of Love and Hate. Aphorisms on Love and Hate, sorry. Next one is The Plague by Albert Camus. I got it in autumn 2023. I do actually want to read this quite soon. The Road to Serfdom by Friedrich von Hayek. I don't know when I'm going to pick this up. Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe. Technically, I read this book back in 2005 and I bought this in summer 2021. Haven't read this to this day and I don't know when I'm going to pick this up. And finally, the last book in this video is The Divine Comedy by Dante. I've had this book since December 2021 and I don't know when I'm going to pick this up. Oh, I have finished filming and I have forgotten to show you this book. This is N or M by Agatha Christie. I've had this since September 2023 and I don't know when I'm going to read this. Oh, and also another book that I have forgotten, or to be exact, a comics. This is a new addition to my collection. This is Northern Lights. Yes, I remembered. This is Northern Lights by Malin Falk. This is the first part. This is named The Journey Through the Valley of the Trolls. I saw it recently at the store and I've never heard about these comics and I was like, sure, why not get it? Just to look at these drawings. They are very Disney-like. Yeah, they look like Disney a lot. For example, this bear reminds me of Brother Bear, Disney film. In case you are wondering, the English translation is available. And that's all. These are all the unread books in my library. Now, of course, I could have shown the books that I started reading in the process of reading, but I decided to only show the unread ones. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. What are the books that you own but haven't read to this day? Let me know down in the comments. See you next time. Goodbye.